I'm tickled at all the things we can do in here that you couldn't do in a regular conference, up to and including what we're doing right this second.
Right?
Yeah. I've seen dancers levitate. I've seen a row of people turn into foxes and row all along the stage. It's very imaginative, very creative, fun stuff that I'm learning a lot from.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Keep trying to teleport the wrong way.
I can teleport. Okay, good.
Right.
Oh, okay.
So, welcome to the Carl's virtual retreat. This is actually a place that me and my team built for a university based in the southern part of Germany, the Karlshochschule. And this project went on for like 10 months, and we were spending a lot of time thinking about how to seat the audience. And we were thinking of this place there, and this is actually the very first lecture taking place here, and look where we are. So nobody thought about this, and yeah, I'm pretty surprised. Yeah, welcome to the keynote of IMMERSIVE X on day one. We already had an opening note, and this is supposed to be the keynote. The opening note always is a little reflection on the state of the metaverse, but the keynote is related to the main topic, which is immersive impact this year. So why did we choose this topic? Maybe some of you have already met me and Ruth. What is it, this morning? No, this afternoon in Germany.
Yesterday, yes.
For the opening, for the warm-up, where I elaborated a little bit on this together with Ruth. As you all may agree, we are living in a time when our social fabric is fraying and societies are splitting into opposing camps driven by political, cultural, and economic forces. And I think more than ever we need new ways to stay in dialogue or to rebuild the connections that hold us together. And that's why the keynote you are about to experience is such an essential part of this year's IMMERSIVE X. And yeah, I couldn't think of anyone better to do this than Dr. Ruth Diaz, founder of BridgeMakers.org. And she's known for her pioneering research on online conflict and empathy. And in her keynote, she will explore how immersive environments can help us navigate conflict, discomfort, and disharmony, and guide us back to authentic presence in both digital and physical spaces. Dr. Ruth, the stone is yours.
Thank you. Woo! Okay, so part of how I know, thank you, Dot. Dot knows how to clap, Jay knows how to clap, is I want you all to acquaint yourself with your tools and learn emojis. Yes. So emojis are part of how I know you haven't fallen asleep and that we're all communicating. Something that I'm saying is resonating for you. Yay. Thank you. Also, what we haven't troubleshooted here, even though I love this screen, is who's putting the presentation up. So I have a link to it. But also, if Aisha, you were controlling it, that could work too. I just am checking in with our co-host here. Do you have the presentation going, or do you need me to put it up? It's up to you.
Yes, you see it in the back of the screen.
I don't. Does anybody see? So I see a screen here, but I don't see the presentation. I got you all in the water.
There we go.
There.
Then, oh, okay. Oh, look. Oh, nice. Look at
You
that.
guys see it now?
Yay. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Great. Okay.
Okay.
So that means you're controlling it. So then you can move forward to the first slide. And then, yeah. Okay. I will say next slide when we get there. Keep going. Oh, back to present. See. We're figuring it out. Oh, that was the music from before. I heard this heart-stopping music earlier, and I was like, I don't know if I can dance up here, but I'll try. All right, keep going. Go past that one to the next one. That's the beginning slide. Yes, that was the one. Okay, good. Here we go. Woo! All right. Without further ado, hello. I am Dr. Diaz. My topic today, yes, as Thomas, thank you so much for the warm intro and your support. So this question of, we're all here, and I brought you into the water, hopefully no water phobias here. It's cool VR water for you. And there are some sharks, but they have fish company and they will leave you alone. And this is a recipe, basically. So conflict, compassion, and presence. How do we know that we've arrived at presence in this third space? How do we know when we're not in presence? What does that even mean, right? So I, as part of being a social scientist, and I'll tell you a little bit about me, I really look at words like they are recipes in themselves. And if you heard me give this talk a week from now, the recipe would be the same, but the stories I would tell you would be different. So that's a slight little plug that says, bring me to give you a talk and your group a talk, and you'll hear a whole other set of stories. I deal with this recipe you're going to see every day, sometimes hourly. How do I go from conflict where, yes, I may pull a few hairs out, but they needed to go. They're getting too gray, right? But also, like, how do I come back into myself in physical reality and virtual reality? How do I not give up on this whole dream that we're in together? How do I not leave these spaces feeling discouraged, more invisible, like I've experienced the worst of humanity? Because not only do I study socially, but I immerse in it in the public instances, in multiple VR apps. And I see the worst of it, so to speak. And so how do I keep breathing through that and believe we can do something about that versus just leaving it for somebody else's problem to solve? Some could call me a sucker for punishment or attracted to drama, maybe. But hopefully others recognize that there's a real calling in finding and building presence in these impossible kind of vacuums and chasms in between community systems. And so let's go to the next slide. We're going to go through 45 slides pretty quick, but they're just kind of layered. I don't really do the animations, so you won't even know. But Aisha will know, so we'll give her lots of applause at the end here, too. So this is me. These are the 4 identities I have carried the most frequently here in virtual reality. It's rare to see or hear me as RC Dex, but that was the first identity I came here with, it has a special meaning to me that almost everybody in my life, including my closest friends, don't actually know what that all those letters stand for. But it's a kind of secret way that I keep me safe. And I remember my heart. And I remember my human. And so the invitation here for today to make the goal to find your heart. Even if you're already in it, you can find it more, believe it or not. So make the goal to find your heart today and know what that feels like, not just imagination-wise. In your emotion, you might tear up a bit. You might feel a little tingly. You might feel a little restless. But knowing where your center is and knowing where that place is where you could cry or laugh at the same time, that's how I know I found my heart. That's the invitation of the journey of our time. And so some people know me for the Troll Project, which was basically a independent, so I did not have a sponsor behind this. This was a personal journey that turned into a professional building of stories, ethnographic, which means I didn't just stand up above like I am now and say, oh, I see patterns, but I went into it. I went into the grungy, back alley, darkest places online, and I talked to trolls while they were trolling. Somewhat out of a morbid fascination with the question of how many trolls would actually stop what they were doing to talk to me. And the number that I am giving a guess at, an average at, was really painful, honestly. And believe it or not, it was not what you think. It was usually 9 out of 10 people would immediately stop harassment, bullying, attacking, and switch into a full human adulting conversation with me within 10 to 30 seconds. I was hoping for 1 or 2 out of 10. So what that taught me very quickly was what a huge misunderstanding we're in with how deeply embedded these behaviors are and how quickly they can shift and have a different track. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, but as you can tell, hopefully, I come by the conflict piece, not just in physical reality, but in virtual reality, honestly. I really have leaned into the places that when I've talked with the scientists who have studied conflict in social immersive spaces, they didn't actually come in to study it. They watched it on camera, or they got reports on it, and they interviewed those people later on Zoom. None of them that I talked to ever actually interacted directly with trolls, even if they were there present, which was the recent studies. They didn't want to approach or get tangled in that. That's a lot, right? So I'm just saying, like, you know, I've had that kind of overwhelming experience. I've been attacked multiple times, and I've learned a lot in those journeys, although very uncomfortable, and has still even happened recently. So the project that I spend most of my energy on right now, though, is called BridgeMakers. You can look that up. That's the website. And it's a community initiative that is about upskilling and supporting community builders. Thank you, Jay. Jay is part of our team. And what we're doing is we're grouping our expertise. So you may be joining us and you just don't know it. This is your moment of calling. We are grouping our community expertise. We have really cool teammates that are on our advisory council and becoming leaders with our group. And we're all pitching in, kind of like Stone Soup, if you've ever heard that story before. We're adding our own vegetables, our own nutrients, and we're pooling it together to mentor and support the community builders, which include leaders and world builders and avatar builders, people who are building the content around us. We're helping them find skills and access to programs and mentorship so they can go from a sense of calling to a practice of competency, which is a very important bridge. And most community leaders and builders don't have any clue how to do that. They're kind of stuck in this place of, I'm filling a spot, and I know if I leave, it might not be filled, but I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm sick of saying that, so now I'm just doing it. So let's go to next slide. Okay. So this is the physical reality turned virtual reality dream that brought me into virtual reality. Some of you have probably seen this more than a few times. When I do a workshop in a couple days here, you're going to get to experience this. The bottom right hand is the world in VR chat that we will be in, learning about your conflict with you in a practice story making way. So it's not about digging in you like you're in a therapy session. It's about watching what's inside arise and learning how to wrap that in compassion and learning how to recognize how we have all been told harmful stories about our emotions and how to process them. And especially in virtual reality, when we plug those places up, they're going to burst like pipes and cause us to do things we don't even track. So especially in VR, learning emotional fluency is really important for your health from conflict, compassion, and turning into presence. But please don't pretend you're going to get all this. This is a complex kind of layered model that explains kind of the blueprint of what happens inside of a lot of us when we encounter fear, and how we spin into stories and emotional escalation, and we start to really believe we know what's happening. And by doing that together, we actually start to manifest our worst fears. It's kind of magical and terrifying at the same time. Next slide. But I have built this in multiple apps and had help, lots of amazing help. And so you will get to experience one of the latest iterations if you come to the next meeting. So social VR. So we love it or we are scared of it, but here's my latest summary of it. So it's fostering connection, right? But just like a light can shine on the brightness and the soulfulness of how we find each other and the synchronicity, sometimes I think about it like rolling social dice. Who are we going to meet? Who are we going to hate? Who are we going to want to meet again? But it also reveals the fractures and the splits inside of us, the places where we haven't healed, and where these younger children inside of us, if you'll allow for that, want to crawl out and play. They're like, what? There's fish in the water and there's a shark and I want to bounce around and I forgot anybody else is here. And now somebody might think I'm a troll and I'm rejected and I'm blocked and I'm muted and I'm exiled. And what just happened? It can go that quick. So recognizing that we all have fractures inside, and this dynamic shows up in all of us in different ways, in how we turn each other into objects and be like, oh, my headset died. And maybe it did, but also maybe it didn't. Maybe we were just bored and we didn't know how to say goodbye. That's happened. Show the emojis if you've ever done that. This is confession time. You're already in the water. It's okay. I won't tell. Yeah, we've all done it. I've done it too. Occasionally it'll be a headache, which is always true because this headset hurts my head. But still, how are we being honest? And how are we saying the hard things? Because if we can't do the hard things in here, guess what? So much harder in physical reality. Okay, next slide. So this is about avoiding suffering unless we choose to recognize those fractures and in measured amounts be uncomfortable. So you get to see a moment. This is my avatar self in VR chat. We're going to play this little clip of a moment where we're holding a healing circle that happens every Friday night called Community Builder Meetup. And we had a special guest arrive. And this guest over in the left is about to check in about their experience of norms. So norms are the things that we set that aren't rules, and they're not even guidelines, but they're the contracts we all lend to how we get along together. What are the things that make us participate? And so this person checked in with his. So let's go ahead and play that video. Hopefully it works.
Keep the norm of this space alive.
Let's get the volume up. Can.
Yeah, good ones. Well, Winter, your turn. What's a norm for you in your group experiences that you've appreciated, or one that you already have this?
Just don't understand. But
And can we get closed captioning on?
People don't say out loud that help us get along better together.
Thank you.
I don't know if we get along. My norm is death threats, racism, hatred, toxicity. People blocking each other. I just really enjoy the chaotic environment, really. People suffering around me. It's kind of what keeps me going to VHS public works.
Show of emojis, whether you heard that or just read that. How does that feel in your body? Okay, yes. Clapping because we're telling the truth. Yep, we've got a surprise face, lots of surprised, and claps. So this is beautiful. A sad face. We have a sad face, yeah? So, just imagine that circle you saw. Let's go to the next slide, even though these are entertaining also. Definitely some scenarios of conflict here also. Is that what you saw there was somebody who was coming into a safe community space and telling the truth about their lack of community. And this person had already been to 2 of our meetups and trolled us before leaving quite quickly. One of them was more offensive, typical prankster trolling, and the second one was less, but still very disruptive and made everybody brace their bellies and feel uncomfortable. So I was on the edge of doing a kick for this person if they were going to come in and do this again. But I also had an instinct, which I can predict usually pretty well, that on the 3rd try, they were going to settle and they were going to lock in with us. So now it is your turn. This is a participation keynote. How rare do you get those? Let's see if this works. I'm using innovative delivery. Okay, so here we go. This is for all of you. You should see a quiz in front of you called Who Said It? And you can move through it. There's 3 options. You can move through it pretty quickly. And go ahead and go to the next slide ×3 so people can see this up on their screen if they'd like. But we're going to look at 3 statements and guess together who said these phrases. So some people are just trash. I take the trash out. So this is one of your options in your quiz if you've opened up your thing. And now the next one. Oh, they're doing the animation again. I broke that man's soul. I saw him crumpled on the ground, and I knew what I had done. I can't undo that. I will never see him again, but I guess I just have to do better and know I have to live with that. Who said that? A troll, a moderator, a leader? And the next one. Building a bridge, brick by brick, stacked in small layers like a wall. Some days you place new bricks, and some days you rest to let it dry. Who said it? And so if you have seen the quiz, go ahead and go with your gut. You don't have to think too hard on this. It's okay that you're probably going to pick the wrong answers. You can also pretend you know and pick the opposite answers just in case you might be right. But we're just going to spend 30 seconds or less on this and select your answers. And then I will show you or tell you what people selected. I guess I have to take a quiz too, which is kind of funny. I didn't know that. I didn't answer. Okay. Done and done. That quiz. Now can I see the results? Oh, total answer. You're all thinking too hard on this. Just go with it. Just go with it. But I appreciate that some people have. So I'm really going to be curious about your answers, and I will look at those a little bit. And as usual, when you put slides up, you think they're going to go fast, and they don't as well. So we're going to keep going, and you're going to get to see the answers even if you didn't finish your quiz. So next slide. As you can see, conflict has been crossed out to context. And so here is our answer key. Keep going. Let's see. Oh, wait, did the last slide go away? Oh, that's interesting. Go back one. Well, I will tell you which ones it is. That's a malfunctioning glitch. That's really interesting. I don't know why it's not animating, but the person who said I'm going to take the trash out, go ahead and give me an emoji if you thought that was a troll. Okay. Did you think that was a moderator? Give me an emoji. Okay. Yeah, there you go. So that was a community leader. About 3 months after that community leader, a very powerful community leader, one of the most powerful community leaders I've ever met in social VR, kind of Illuminati level. About 3 months after that community leader told me that, guess who got to be the next trash? Me. So I got taken out. So the other one you saw, which is super painful, and I actually made it simpler than it was. If you heard the full quote of what that person said when they said I broke that man's soul, would have ended up potentially like me, especially if you heard them say it. It's bone chilling. I literally, after that interview, curled up in a ball and sobbed until I fell asleep. It was a traumatic thing to just witness the truth of what that human being had done to another and had lived with for years without ever confessing that to anybody. And that was a moderator who used to be a troll. And so the one that you saw that maybe you guessed, well, that sounds like what a leader would say. You need to rest when you put the bricks down. You need to take a pause and take a break. The very same person you saw say that they liked to cause suffering in places, 2 days later had a direct message conversation with me asking to get into our community very humbly, jumped through every hoop I gave them, went very thoroughly, better than almost anyone I know, through multiple websites and homework pieces and gave incredibly heartfelt responses, blew their mind, opened their hearts, made them face a lot of trauma, very honest human being. And at the end of that, they said, I understand if you will not include me in your community. I cannot commit to not trolling. Thank you for building the bridge. They forgave me for not letting them in. And they told me to rest. So that is your context to understand that what we think we know about people can change so profoundly and so quickly in this space. And you hear me tear up because my heart is still broken that I don't have the resources and the energy and the time to build the bridge for him. I have not rejected his application because I can't bear to do it. But to get the help and the mobilization and the support to build a safe bridge for him to join us, I don't have it right now. And he knows that. But it still hurts to say no to somebody who seems so ready to heal. So everyone we think we know in here, it's not true. There's more there. And that can be really scary, but it also gives us a doorway to face ourselves differently. How do I assume my own limitations? And how do I assume my own brokenness? And what if it wasn't true? And what if I could heal through you, even if you make me really uncomfortable, like that man did? Next slide. And so what we're talking about around this is punitive justice. I'm looking at our time, and I'm actually going to ask us to go through this one really quick. So let's go about 5 faster, because that first one was rich, but it took longer than I anticipated. So let's go 5 slides forward, Sam. Thank you. We're going to skip the next video. But overall, the idea with punitive justice, yeah, just go ahead and skip through that. is an impossible situation that we're all in. Social media says mute, block, ban. So we do it. We're encouraged to do it, or maybe we just avoid it entirely because it's really uncomfortable to mute, block, or ban or erase people. So we just stay away from it, and we don't think about what that leaves for the rest of the people who are trying to build a bridge and trying to be part of some kind of solution. And so they call each other out and they cancel each other. Specifically in the app that I spend the most time, VR Chat, I joke that cancel culture is like what happens on a Tuesday to anybody who is visible on a stage. Oh, you were canceled this week? Oh, yeah, I guess it's Tuesday again. It's serious stuff people are canceled for, but people are very hungry to feel justice and certainty in there. And so they get very hungry and they start to eat each other and assume the worst in each other to feel a sense of secure again. And so next slide, basically what's happening when we're looking at conflict is we have a trigger, we have something that spurs our fear response, and then we go into black and white thinking. And then the next slide is we don't know what to do with that, so we take action. We go into that call out mindset, or what you will learn a bit about in a couple of days if you come to this workshop, we deepen. We actually start to go, wow, I'm so uncomfortable. I would like my headset to die right now, or for you to disappear. Wait, pause. What am I feeling? What am I feeling? It is very rare for me to find human beings who know, and you might not, and this is very normal. You can feel two feelings at the same time. Just because you can doesn't mean you've ever practiced that. But feeling both hard emotions and healing emotions is a very weird experience for most human beings. They're like, no, that's weird. Is that weird? But it's called liminal. We can be both uncomfortable and in a place of presence, acceptance, gratitude, kindness, peace, compassion. We can be in both places at the same time. And this is an incredible place to practice that with very little consequence. So the way that I get my mind and my community out of this never-ending cycle of doom and harm, which our apps only know and they encourage us to do because they do not come in here and know what it feels like to be mute and blocked and banned, and how that fractures us and our communities. And so they don't understand that this format that kind of works not really in online spaces in 2D actually really breaks us in this immersive reality. It's very harmful. It's not working. So next slide is just bringing that arrow back and saying if we could move through the black and white thinking and pause and find that emotional fluency, we would actually deepen ourselves and grow some roots that could carry into physical reality. And that's the recipe we're looking at today. Let's go to the next slide. So now we're looking at the second part of this, which is compassion. Hopefully it shows up. Gosh, I took all these animations off and then they showed up again. Animations. All right, so compassion. The simplest way to think about that word, passion. Come over here. Come this way. Where are you, passion? So taking all those emotions we've unpacked that are fighting with each other. I'm angry, I'm sad. No, I'm grateful and I'm present. And bringing them back and stirring them up inside of our hearts. Keep going. We're going to move through these in lightning pace. Oh my goodness. Sorry about the animations. So this compassion is a representation. This is an fMRI study I saw highlighted on LinkedIn recently. But this is a scan of a mother and a baby holding each other. It's a very tender, beautiful picture, right? But one of the things it's revealing on those little white spots you can see is that there's a mirror effect happening in the nervous system. What's happening inside the mother's body is happening inside that child's body. There's kind of a mind meld happening. And so when I go into a place of compassion with myself, I don't just remind myself of my emotions. I remind myself of the biggest events that may be shaping how I'm feeling right now that are outside of this moment. And so these are some historical pieces for me. I bring compassion to right before I came into the metaverse, I had worked crisis lines for 2 years. So I tend to see crisis sometimes where it's not there yet. And so I hold compassion for myself that I have a stronger muscle around that. And sometimes I need to slow down and not see the worst doom and gloom and risk that is there. I also was very involved in Black Lives Matter. It was an honor and a transformational journey before it was even popular, and I continue to be. And that also makes me very involved in anti-racism work. Much more involved than most people ever dreamed in virtual reality. They don't know how to process how much I have there. And it scares a lot of people. And sometimes they polarize with me and see the worst in what I'm doing and assume the worst about me. See me as that bleeding heart activist or even a troll at times. And then COVID-19, my goodness, that did a number on all of us. But I was very isolated during that time. And it did change my brain. It changed my body and how I'm wired to it. And cancel culture. I study it, but I've also had it happen to me. And it has devastated my life deeply. And that changes how I respond to people. How even today, coming to this meeting, I was dealing with these waves of anxiety that I was going to get heckled here by somebody. And sharing that with some trusted people. So part of me being able to be present with you is learning how to be vulnerable in the moments that count and tell the truth. And by telling you that truth, I release that truth and I make room for something new. But it's also a risk. It's also a risk. So life in physical reality, but also VR, is about taking measured risks and asking myself, what's a little more uncomfortable than I want to be right now? Not a lot. A lot puts me back in trauma zone and over and under reacting to things. What's just a little bit more uncomfortable? What's a truth I could tell that I might be a little scared I said too much, but I might be a little proud of myself for offering something I haven't been willing to share with other people and seeing what those reactions are like. Worst case scenario, somebody's going to say, oh, my headset's dying. Okay. I hope you have a good time in your body. Next slide. So how do I resynchronize with myself with the stories that are the big anchors of my life? We're coming into the realms of reparative justice, and this is the beginning of where my work is. How do we take the disrepair, the disconnect, the conflict, and resynchronize it and say, oops, I really messed up here. So what you see to the left, oh, I know what happened. You have an old version of the slides. That's okay. We're going to go with these, but that's why they're animating. Interesting. Okay, so this slide here, just to give you a little more context, more of the homework by our troll that we saw animated there. He didn't just go online and research BridgeMakers and the Troll Project. He actually went into the worlds and explored them and found our amends world, where we look at the steps to repair conflict. And he found this card on the ground, and he took a picture and he sent it. And he said, I'm asking myself what I'm doing differently today. And then he answered it very heartfully. I've never had anybody, paying me or not, do that thorough of homework and show me how much they're following this and how much they care and how much they want to prove they deserve to be here and work with me and heal. So context, right? He was trying to repair. Next slide. So interesting. I was all nervous and I was fixing all these slides, and now it's back to what it was, and I'm like, okay, we're gonna roll with it. So one of the biggest teachings we learn repeatedly in BridgeMakers, this may seem simple, but if you get this from this meeting, it will change your life. This is also a Brene Brown thing. I'm not gonna claim it, but just read these words. Guilt, when you feel guilty, it's saying, oops, I messed up. When you're feeling ashamed, I am the mess up. That's a very different feeling. And many, many people do not know how to recognize the difference in their own bodies. And when you mix those two emotions up, you live in a state of continual paralysis and hiding. So part of compassion and reparative justice is learning the muscle of guilt, not as a punishment, But as a relief, now when I feel guilt, I'm like, oh my God, I feel guilty. We're gonna do this different. Whew. I know what guilt is. When I'm in shame, real true shame, we go quiet. We're so overwhelmed, our language center shuts down and we just retreat. So guilt is I'm still in it. We're gonna make this better. And I'm gonna learn from this. And it's hard. It's so hard. My team of volunteers and BridgeMakers, we practice it every day and it's really uncomfortable. But we do it. All right, let's keep going. Next slide. Woo, we got 5 minutes. Okay. Moderation mediation. Yes. So this is our growth edge in BridgeMakers. We are teaching and learning how to do mediation together. It's iterative. That's one of our values. We're practicing and learning what mediation means for our constellation. Just because I know the fancy-ish tricks of nonviolent communication and all of that, it can feel very clinical if I just tell you the recipe, even though they do have the recipe and you can too. How do we apply it to each other? How do we grow language around that? Mediation isn't just something else somebody else does with us, it's what we do with ourselves. And moderation is the beginning, but it's not where it ends. Moderation also extends into punitive justice under the guise of moderation, but really it just means mute, block, ban. So let's keep going. So the next one after deepening emotional fluency is to recognize that all those animations are going to kill me, but I will forgive them. We're playing the long game. Yep, keep going. We're going to skip that one, but this is a really fun story if we had time. Orienting to human is the opportunity. So if you remember another thing that I'm sharing with you today, remember that how often we use the word human as an excuse for how we are not enough. Only human. I had a human moment today. So we curse that word with how we use it in our language, and then we wonder why the human race is so messed up. We also say that we should be racing all the time and going really fast, and that doesn't help anything. So human is a doorway, it's an opportunity. This is part of the recipe. Let's keep going. The last one is presence. How do we come back to presence? We've been on quite a journey already today. Now is where love breathes. So take a breath with me. Now is where love breathes. Presence is where we believe again. Not because we see it and then we believe it, but because we choose it and then we see it. It's kind of a trick. But it works, some of the time at least. Now is where love breathes. Now is where I breathe and remember love. And for those who know me, I rarely to never use that word, but I'm holding it for a moment with you, just out of the courage and stretch, at least in the agape sense of things. Let's keep going. So presence is really something I believe is a multidimensional thing. If you think about the word pre-sense, how am I in my pre-senses? Am I just in my senses? Pre-sense is to put all my senses together and feel the beyond reaching for me. To feel the scariest thing in front of me and think, what if you are my teacher also, even if I get hurt? That is presence. Presence is sensing my limit even though I don't have all the data on that. Next slide. I grew up with those kinds of cartoons, so I loved that one. So here's an example of how the metaverse became my three-dimensional application, how it transformed me in physical reality. I used to teach this slide all the time, which was teaching about dualism. When our brains are afraid, we go into black and white thinking. So what's the opposite? And you can do this with your hands if you're in VR. What's the opposite of down? See if you're all listening or you fell asleep. Up, right? Yes. Oh, nice. Faye's on computer, but Faye did this. Yes. Down, up. That's black and white, right? And if I showed you all the slides of this, it would go down, up, left, right, wrong, right, good, bad. Now we're getting confusing, right? So let's go to the next slide. But the three-dimensional space we're in, where I got to study this model that I built, has taught me how to think in 3D and helped me start to understand that the dualism is actually like a DNA strand to our own personality. It gives us direction. It gives us flow. If I know what's bad and I know what's good, I know where to go. But then if I think I know who's bad and who's good, guess what? There's a lot of painful experiences ahead for me. But because in physical reality, we're primed to believe we can actually assess and judge and be convicted about who's bad and who's good, what happens is we start to do that in here with so much less data on each other. We really don't know very much about each other, but we think we do. And it feels good for a second. And then we hurt each other really badly. And so just this has helped me forgive that place in us that I couldn't super forgive. I was kind of annoyed with humans when I would teach this in physical reality. And then when I started seeing it as a DNA strand, I was like, this is just our programming. We can move through this. But really what it boils down to is if I'm feeling unsafe and I'm in a dualistic frame, then I'm going to choose Faye over there who's not in her body. She's on desktop, so she can't even wave this away. She can't use her hands. I'm going to choose Faye over there to be unsafe. Because guess what that makes me if I have a dualistic brain? I'm safe again. And Faye is evil. Sorry, Faye. Our relationship is over. Faye is disappointed and looked down. Thank you, Faye, for being my victim of this example. Okay, next slide. So thank you, VR. Although I have suffered greatly in this place, you have no idea. Some of you do. I learned about dualism in a very primal, deep way. And this is a color-coded version of this. Dualism, blue. Dualism, red. Non-dualism, purple. It also maps to chakras. There's a lot of cool things about that. Next slide. So we're going to go from presence and unpack that a little bit more. Presence means transformation. We can't stay in the presence. Yes, transformation. How do I change the form that I'm in here first? I did it by coming in here. How many people actually have avatars that look like their real human self? Hair looks exactly this way. We're in these outfits. I will give